So I want to know more about you are the real
Yeah,
estate, right?
yeah. I'm the
Can
listing agent for the location.
you tell me more about this new building?
As far as the Highrailer, it's what I like to call, and of course what Jasco Development calls, the new fashioned living here in New Britain. And that's what's important, right? You have individuals, of course, that live in New Britain that might be looking for something different if they're actually renting. And then you have other individuals outside of New Britain that say, hey, listen, I want to live a closer to the airport, right? So let me just come on into New Britain. Or I've heard things about New Britain and I want to check it out for myself. Hey, what's going on? How you doing? I want to check it out for myself. With the Highrailer, everything becomes a step up. So what you see inside of the Highrailer is a small step up for the units that are actually inside of the brick. But you still have studios, you still have one bedrooms, you still have two bedrooms, and then depending on the unit and its location, you're gonna have different views that we will see momentarily. This is what they're currently working on alongside of everything that they're working on at the Highrailer. In the courtyard, are you familiar with Parkville Market at all
No,
in Hartford?
no.
So
Well,
Park,
yeah,
huh?
yes,
Just a little bit?
a little.
And you know how massive their courtyard is, right? Every developer that comes from outside of the given city, like over there at Parkville Market, his name is Carlos, and Carlos comes from New York. And when he built Parkville Market, where the location is, it screams community. It's very diverse. But when you come from the outside as a developer and you come into a city, you can't look at the city for what it is. You have to look at the city for what it's going to be,
And what is going to be?
bigger than what it was. Like I remember, I'm a baby of the 80s, right? Bridgeport, Connecticut. I remember what Bridgeport was. I remember Father Panic Village, as does everybody else, and it was one of the roughest areas in Bridgeport at that given time.
When you say bigger than it was before, what do you mean? Bigger in terms of
Bigger and not in terms of you expand the city out, you made the city and you beautified the city. You came in, you saw areas that needed attention, and you gave them attention. You invested into the city from outside.
so you
If
are trying to get more people that living right now outside of the town, people that have more money than the usual residents that are
Not
living here
necessarily individuals that have more money. What you want to
because the
do is
rent
first,
the rent is
the,
expensive, right?
The rent here is starting at 14.85, going up to 35.75. That's for the Highrailer. But understanding that right here in New Britain, we still have other apartment complexes that are cheaper in rent. They were built years ago. They look a whole lot different. Once you start changing designs, once you start changing styles, you have to figure out how to bring money into the city to make the city look better in total.
When you posted your Facebook post, a lot
Mhm.
of criticize
Oh, indeed.
about the
You have to be okay with knowing that you're going to get the good and you're going to get individuals who are already upset. There's a lot of people that live right here in New Britain that they're already upset about the conditions of New Britain, but they may not see what tomorrow is going to look like. They may not see the vision of where New Britain's been going. We've been taking steps. I've been here for 15 years. When I first got famous, I could have moved out of New Britain. I could have lived in New York. I could have lived over there in the West Coast somewhere, living that high life. I chose to stay in the city because I know where the city is going. I know the direction in which it's moving. And I know that it's going to become bigger, just like same thing with Bridgeport. We were discussing that earlier. As they started making developments, they started making changes, beautifying Bridgeport, bringing more of the community together. It doesn't really benefit everyone. You want to make sure that everybody's happy, but honestly, the way life works, you cannot appease everybody. But certain individuals that have been here for a long time, they saw the changes of New Britain over the years. They saw the changes of downtown. It didn't always look like this. Like when you talk about individuals that maybe they do not have a place to live,
uh-huh.
and you want to talk about homelessness, this was a little more on the rougher side of life then at that given time. Gradually, it started becoming better. And the only way that you can go from being rough to gradually becoming better is making sure that money is coming into the city. If the city does not have funds like that, that means somebody normally comes from the outside, a developer. They see a potential building that might be dilapidated, it might be run down, or they just might see a site where they could build something new. They build modern living. The rents are automatically a little bit higher, but these aren't the rents that end up getting pocketed back into the developer's pocket. They have to pay the banks that gave them the loan to make these buildings, correct? And then they have to put the money back into the city. And that's how you bring about change. That's how you bring about an opportunity to give more people an opportunity, another chance to bring more jobs. What we do not have currently is what you might see in New York. New York has 5 boroughs. And people can always talk about what the Bronx used to look like, what Brooklyn used to look like, and folks automatically get upset when they start thinking gentrification. All right? They're like, you're not taking care of us, you're taking care of everybody else. I never look at a city or a town taking care of everybody else. I look at what is it going to look like tomorrow. If you're going to bring all this money in and you're going to raise up the rent, what are you going to do for the city at the end of the day that's going to make it better for everyone involved? That's what's important more than anything else. If you leave things the same, nothing ever changes. It only ends up getting worse. I would never want that for New Britain. We're going this way. Be careful on the step over, and then watch your steps. You might want to walk on this path. The front door is on the side over here. This is going to be all commercial space down here.
When is gonna be finished?
Right now, we have a single model unit, and I'll show that to you on the 3rd floor. And they're working on all the units on the 3rd floor because that's where all the model units are going to be. One unit is actually, I'd say, about 90% done as far as a model unit. They were hoping to have everything as far as that 3rd floor completed by November.
By November?
By November. And in November, here's the reality. And this is what I've learned over the years when it comes to construction. As a developer, you have an idea of what you would like to happen. So Avner would love for this to be ready for November. But when the city comes in, they're going to say, it's not ready for tenants to move in. You have to finish this and you have to get that done. We have to, there's going to be things, a checklist that has to be hit. And that pushes your November into December. And if they come back in December and still see things are not where they need to be up to code and spec, it's going to push it out a little bit more. So you would love to get started in November, and we're getting a little bit further. But as far as tenants moving in November, it's going to be close. It's going to be close, but we'll see what happens. It depends on construction, the teams, and what they can get done.
So do you feel confident that you are going to be able to sell this kind of properties?
With everything takes time, right? When it's finished, it's going to be easier to get individuals to be able to walk through, to have the vision right before them. It's a whole lot different, like I said, when you're walking inside of a home where it's clutter all over the place. Like, you won't get that. But the harder thing to get individuals to buy into is when they cannot see the full picture of what their unit's going to look like.
Do you also have been in charge of renting out the other building, the Brit?
The Brit? No, there's another agent that's actually on the Brit right now. As far as what?
As far as renting the property.
Okay, the gentleman here can answer more about the Brit for you.
And so the people are, some people are asking why this building is, so pricey. Like, they don't see. Sometimes they are like, to be here in New Britain is maybe like expensive.
I think the biggest thing for that given situation, as I mentioned when we were downstairs, right? You have to bring the money into the city to expand and build on the city, right? If by chance, let's just say for a moment, every single complex in New Britain was with rent that started at $500 for a 2-bedroom that was $1,000, and then that's where it stopped. New Britain would be a city that would never be able to grow. It would never ever change. Because if everything around the city is going up in expense and your city is not bringing in enough money, they're not going to invest back into your city. So that we wouldn't be able to make changes in the city to make anything better. The reality is, when it comes to different complexes that are actually out there, New Britain happens to have complexes that are more on the affordable side, where it might be $800 a month, or it might be $1,200 a month. You just cannot make every single complex at that price point if you want to make changes in the city or in the town for that given chance, right? That's how New York was able to grow.
But at the same time, people are complaining about, that rent is getting expensive everywhere, and also bringing more this kind of buildings to the area is basically contributing to that kind of
to the rent actually going up. And so what they're saying is that rent is going up where they currently live because of buildings such as these, right? That's what I would say an actual, whether it's a property management group or an actual developer chooses to do with their rent, that would be a choice of their own. Like, nobody can force you to do anything that you do not want to do. So when these type of buildings actually come in, we speak to these buildings. We don't say we're going to build the Highrailer and then the guy across the street is automatically supposed to raise their rent. You can keep your rent right where it is. There's a reason that your units look the way that they do. There's a reason that you're in the location that you're in. You're servicing the community. But if you want to compete against modern living and raise your rent and you're pushing your own people out, that's a choice that you're making on your own. It's not Jasco Development forcing you to do that. What we're doing is making sure that we're bringing money back into the city, back into the community. But you're not supposed to change your rent because we're looking to bring more money back in. Because if by chance you're changing your rent and you're going from $875 a month and you're automatically shooting to $1,100 a month, that's just money that you're just pocketing on your own. It's not money that you're actually contributing back into the city at that given point because you were doing just fine at $875 a month. When these facilities and these buildings actually come in, they're coming in understanding that you're taking out a bank loan, you have to pay that bank loan back. You cannot possibly pay that bank loan back if you're going to do rent at $300, at $800. The banks want their money. They don't care how you get it. They want their money back. If they say, we're going to give you, let's just say, 2.5 million, they want that money back. They're not saying we're giving you this money and don't worry about ever paying us back. They want that money back and they give you a time frame in which they want to start seeing a return. If you cannot return that money, it becomes a problem, right? That's how life works in general. Individuals from the outside looking in, if they're not about business whatsoever, they only see high rent and they automatically get upset.
And the people that are coming here to rent in that breed, they are from New Britain or they are from other towns?
If individuals within New Britain are already used to paying rents that are $1,200 to $1,500 to $1,800 a month, and their lease is about to be up, they'll just move over here. They'll move to a Brit. They'll move to the Highrailer because they're already used to paying this money. For individuals that are in the 800s or in 700 a month, when they see something that's $1,400, it's like, ooh, they shy away from it. And we understand that, right? It makes sense. So you have individuals from New Britain that do live in the Brit and individuals from New Britain that will live here at the Highrailer. And then you're also going to have individuals that are looking to be closer to the airport that are going to move in from a Stanford, that are going to move in from possibly a Greenwich, that are going to move in from a New York. If they're coming in here and they're going to the airport, they're getting a little bit closer. If they end up coming to New Britain, this is where they're going to look to live. The reality is you want to make sure that people are taken care of. And I understand where individuals get a little upset. I've been there. I know what it is to be upset until it was broken down to me years ago while change has to happen. Change has to happen in these cities to help more individuals. It may not seem as if they're getting the help, and it may not seem as if all the programs are coming all at once, but programs are happening. As the funding comes in, programs are happening. The funding can actually come in from the city when you have the Highrailer, when you have the Brit, when you have the Strand that's being built. Because all it's going to do is just funnel in the money, be it from the city or from individuals moving here, paying the rent, it goes right back to the city.
So you don't think that is gentrification?
Everything changes in life. Everybody's going to call it gentrification. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Everything can happen right here if the people choose for it to happen right here. But if people would rather be upset that growth is happening, then we still have to get these units filled. We'll start here in the community, and I will promote here in the community all day long. Like I said, when I blew up, when I got famous, I could have moved to New York or I could have moved to the West Coast. I stayed right here in New Britain. I didn't go anywhere because I know where New Britain is going. I know the direction of New Britain.
So no gentrification for you, this kind of development?
Nothing bothers me. I'm very diverse to begin with. My family is extremely big from all different backgrounds. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as growth.